Have you ever tried to bake a vegan cake and it just fell flat? Dense, kind of dry, just a total letdown? Well, today we are cracking the code on the exact opposite. We're talking about a chocolate cake that is so rich, so moist, so unbelievably fluffy, nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to guess it's vegan.
I know what you're thinking. A perfect chocolate cake with no eggs, no butter, no milk? It sounds impossible, right? How on earth do you get that beautiful texture, that perfect crumb, without all the usual suspects? Well, that's the big question, and we are going to answer it.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Listen to this. This is from someone who tried it out on the toughest food critics out there, their own family. And when they ate the entire thing without even noticing what was missing, yeah, that's when you know you've got something special.
So, back to that question. Is it possible? Oh yeah. The answer is a huge, resounding yes. And honestly, the best part is that it's not about weird, expensive, hard-to-find ingredients. The secrets are all about a little bit of kitchen science, using stuff you probably have in your pantry right now.
All right, let's get into it. How do we get that amazing airy lift without using any eggs? Well, it all comes down to our very first secret, which is basically creating a super simple but really powerful chemical reaction that does all the hard work for us.
The star of the show here is something called vegan buttermilk. Now, it sounds all fancy, but trust me, it could not be easier to make. You just take some plant-based milk, soy milk works best because the high protein content helps it curdle really nicely, and you stir in a little bit of acid, like apple cider vinegar or some lemon juice. That's it. This creates this amazing, tenderizing base for our cake batter.
And this is where the magic happens. Do you remember making those little baking soda and vinegar volcanoes back in science class? We're doing that exact same thing, but inside our cake batter. The acid from our vegan buttermilk hits the baking soda, and poof, it creates all these tiny little carbon dioxide bubbles. Then, when the cake goes into the oven, the heat makes those bubbles expand, and they push the cake up, 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 and you get this incredibly light, fluffy texture. It's chemistry. Okay, so the volcano trick gives us the lift. That's awesome. That's half the battle won. But eggs do more than just lift, right? They also act like the glue, providing structure and moisture that holds the whole thing together. So how do we solve that piece of the puzzle? Well, that brings us to our second, and honestly, kind of brilliant secret.
So let's just break this down. It's really a two-part solution. On one side, you've got the lift, which we get from that awesome acid and baking soda reaction. On the other side, you need the binder, which is going to give us the structure. Two totally different jobs solved by two really simple things.
And what is our binder? Get ready for this. It's aquafaba. And what is aquafaba? It's just the liquid from a can of chickpeas. You know, the stuff you normally just pour down the drain. It turns out the proteins and starches in that liquid are a total miracle worker for replacing eggs. And let's just get the number one question out of the way right now. No, your cake will absolutely not taste like chickpeas or hummus, I promise. It's totally neutral, and it just lets that deep chocolate flavor shine.
So we've got the why all figured out. The science is actually pretty straightforward. So now you're probably wondering about the how. Is this going to be a huge mess? Is it complicated? Nope, and this might be the best part. It's so easy.
This is a true one-bowl wonder, my friends. You get your oven preheating, prep your pans, mix up that buttermilk, and then everything else happens in one single bowl. You whisk your dry stuff together, pour in all the wet stuff, and give it a mix. But, and this is super important, only mix it until it just comes together. If you overmix, you'll get a tough cake. A few little lumps are totally fine. Then you just bake it. It's that simple.
Okay, so you've got the basics down. You can make a great cake. But now, let's talk about the pro tips. These are the little secrets that bakers use to take a cake from just great to, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever eaten.
First up, ingredients. Always add a little coffee or espresso powder. It won't make the cake taste like coffee, I swear. It just makes the chocolate taste more, well, chocolatey. It's a secret weapon. We already talked about soy milk, but it's worth saying again, it makes the best buttermilk. If you want that super dark, rich, bakery-style look, go for Dutch processed cocoa powder. And finally, having all your ingredients at room temperature helps everything mix together smoothly and bake evenly.
Your technique matters too. Using light-colored metal pans is a big deal. Dark pans absorb more heat and can give you dry, tough edges. And be careful how you measure your flour. Don't just scoop it out of the bag. That packs it in and you'll end up using too much, which means a dry cake. But the biggest tip of all? You have to be patient. You must let these cake layers cool completely, 100%. If they're even a little bit warm when you try to frost them, you are going to have a crumbly, sliding mess.
Now here is a game-changing tip that might sound a little weird at first. Once your cakes are totally cool, wrap them up really well and pop them in the freezer. I know, it sounds like it would dry them out, but it does the opposite. It actually locks all that moisture inside. Plus, trying to frost a firm frozen cake layer is an absolute dream. It's sturdy, you get way fewer crumbs, it's just so much easier.
So, when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway here? It's that amazing vegan baking isn't about finding some weird magical egg substitute. It's about understanding what eggs actually do in a recipe. They give you lift, they give you structure, and then using some smart, simple food science to get those same results with everyday ingredients.
And that kind of leads us to the final thought. You don't just have a great recipe for one cake now, you've got the principles. You get the why behind it all. So the real question is, now that you have this knowledge, what are you going to bake next?